Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill completely contradicts the vision and principles of this nation and would erode the federal government's enforcement of non-discrimination protections in communities that are uniquely underserved. It will strip the federal government of a workforce focused on the mission of their agency and ensuring an inclusive, positive, and safe workplace for all employees. And to make matters worse, it would force federal agencies to close down all federal offices that operate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, fire employees who work in those positions, and prevent them from finding a new job elsewhere in the federal government. My amendment would ensure any employee or contractor from an underserved community in danger of getting removed from federal service is afforded appropriate opportunities to remain in federal service pursuant with current federal law. On February 16, 2023, President Biden issued an executive order that sought to build a federal workforce that reflects the fabric of our nation and deliver resources and benefits to the American people consistent with the needs of the public. This landmark executive order ensures equity for people that belong to communities that have been systematically denied equal treatment under the law. That includes employees who are from communities of color, individuals from communities that face discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender, including LGBTQ+ people, individuals who face discrimination based on pregnancy or pregnancy-related conditions, parents and caregivers, individuals who belong to communities that face discrimination based on their religion or disability, people who live in rural communities, and veterans and military spouses, first-generation professionals or college students, immigrants, people with limited English proficiency, and the formerly incarcerated or individuals facing employment barriers based on older age. The people who fall under these categories are your friends, your neighbors. They are also federal employees. H.R. 8706 would fire people simply because they had the misfortune to work at an office that our majority doesn't like. The bill as written would mean that a pregnant woman who is already likely to face persistent discrimination in the workplace would be fired simply on the basis that they worked for a federal or contracting office that supports diversity, equity, and inclusion activities. It would mean that a person who lives in a rural town would be let go with no possibility of reassignment just because they worked in a diversity, equity, and inclusion office. It would eradicate positions for people with disabilities who currently work in these programs, regardless of their level in the office, who are making progress towards Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's rules to make up 12% of the federal workforce. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter from the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund stating its concerns with H.R. 8706 and its potential effect on federal workers with disabilities and broader disability community.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. It would allow the firing of LGBTQ+ people for the sole reason that they took a position that upholds a mission of building a federal workforce that reflects the communities it serves. And it would coldly fire veterans and their spouses who make up more than 30% of all federal employees with no possibility of reassignment because they want to continue serving their country in a different capacity. This legislation would provide a chilling downstream effect across federal agencies in all offices and federal workers across all levels of government. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the American Federation of Government Employees statement against H.R. 8706, in which they write, and I quote, "While AFG certainly applauds any legislative proposal to curb and eliminate employment discrimination in the federal workplace, we regard H.R. 8706 as actually setting back that cause, not advancing it. Under the broad pretext of combating discrimination, which has long been illegal, H.R. 8706 would, if enacted, eliminate virtually all agency initiatives currently in place to develop and maintain a dignified, respectful, and safe workplace that enables federal agencies to carry out laws and directives in a professional and efficient manner." Without objection.
Without objection,
okay.
so ordered.
Our nation's strength is in its diversity. Our federal workforce must embody that strength. This bill exemplifies our nation's weaknesses. For these reasons, I respectfully ask my colleagues to support this amendment, which will protect dedicated workers in our federal government.